what time it is. It's like 12 o'clock at night on a Wednesday, and I'm waiting for air vehicles to come out. I'm going to probably situate myself underneath a tree and say when a galaxy comes out, I'm going to start shooting at it. It's going to take me out, but then a little bit later I'm going to do the same thing again and again, and then they're going to find my Sunday, and then I'm going to fly out in a Reaver and do it again and again, probably for the entire game, because you can. And that's democracy. I mean, that's the American way, is to do stuff because you can, because you have the freedom to. They may put you in jail, but you can keep doing it over and over and over and over and over again until they're just completely fucking sick and out of their mind that you're just doing this over and over again. And they'll give in. They'll give in because they're so sick of seeing you. Okay? That's how you get your say. Now they're gonna turn around. They're like, "Oh, what?" So this is not really how to play the game. It's more how to be an asshole. But people are not going to do this and throw it up on YouTube and get a lot of likes from it. That's not what I'm interested in, because I know YouTube, nobody can make money off of it. It's just like what we used to say in the day of the .com was that, oh, Amazon is making money, therefore we can make money. People understood transitivity, they just didn't understand logic. The logic of it is that this idea that you could replace a brick and mortar with a website sounded good on paper, but the reality is it's very hard to make it work. And Amazon wasn't only a website; they were a whole bunch of other stuff. I mean, they had a warehouse. The website was just a front end, was just a way of interacting, and that's changed everything. But you can't justify a business on somebody else's business, and so if you can see there's like 5 or 10 YouTubers that are doing really well, try looking at their everyday life, what it's like, and I will swear it is more upkeep than you're willing to put up with yourself. But to them, it may be perfectly fine because they've probably gone through a lot of crap being with people that were controlling, and for them it's easier to manage themselves than to be managed by somebody else. I, on the other hand, am not a good example of anything, because the position I'm in right now is it's not of my doing. Has nothing to do, and it isn't like I didn't try. Okay, I tried, but I just didn't end up where I'm at through some formula, or it was luck. Okay, it was luck. It was possibly there was some divine intervention there. I don't know what, but I'm not going to really take advantage of it. And if I am taking advantage of it, it's trying to communicate to people ideas that, it says in the Bible, it says they're ever hearing but never perceiving, that Satan would snatch things up from people's ears. You would not believe how true that is. It's like you can talk to somebody and you can think you're communicating to them, but their brain is translating everything that's coming in. They don't hear it. They're not even hearing you at all. They're hearing what they think they're going to hear from you based upon what you're saying. Like if you start talking about Christianity to somebody who's been bombarded all their life by Christianity, they're going to have an immune system built into their neural pathways to ignore you the minute you say Christ. So you have to pretty much say nothing of the sort. You have to go by some other method, because they're not going to understand it. I try to tell people Jesus was not a common name for people in his time. I mean, it was not a unique name. It was a very common name. I have aphasia. I have a tendency to reverse the meanings. So it was not a unique name. Jesus was like as common as calling your kid Dave, you know. And so there are parts in the Bible where it says Jesus not the Savior. In places in the Bible it says Jesus not the Savior, that's Jesus not the Savior, that. And I don't expect I'm going to get anybody off of this video. I expect a lot of the people I'm going to talk to are going to just say shut up. And the reason why is because they're demon possessed. Everybody in this environment, in this world, is demon possessed. And more so today than there ever has been. And so anything I say, the demons are going to turn you away from it. They're going to say, you don't want to hear this, it's going to hurt, you don't want to hear it, it's complete lies, it's bullshit. And, you know, Trump doesn't even have to say it, because people already believe it. That's the reason why it works for him, is because he's really just telling everybody what they believe, okay? They already believe in this world. And so nothing I can say can undo that, unless the people are able to, unless I'm able to get something in there that just hits them the wrong way and causes them to think. I've seen it happen when people came to the realization that they were wrong, and it's really bizarre how it happened. Usually just it causes them to fall sideways, you know, and then they fall to the ground and they're like, what the fuck was I just saying, you know? I had this example. I was bagging in Kroger, and I got a computer science degree, and a guy who's a bagger who's got a computer science degree never happens. That's probably the reason why I liked being there, is because I could say things to people and get words in sideways into areas that they thought were closed off. And that was just that they were vulnerable when they were vulnerable to what I was saying. So this guy's going to come in, and he's going to be pleasantly surprised whenever I start doing this. There's another one. He's coming. He's right there. I just want to cause them to think that there's somebody down there who really doesn't like them. I'm just kidding. But anyhow, very few people over at VIA start from the warp gate. See, you always learn something new whenever you do something that nobody else does. And that's the reason why you should do it. You should always do the things that nobody else does, so that you might learn something that nobody else is learning. Because everybody is in the same places because everybody wants to be in the same places. The place where people don't want to be are the places that people don't go, or the places that you need to be. So you need to kind of be everywhere in the world. And some people just try to see where they can get to. And when they get to some place, they will leave a little package there. They'll give the GPS coordinates, and they'll tell somebody else, if you can get this place, you're going to get this free Oculus headset. If you can make it to this space on the Earth, of course, they'll probably fly out a helicopter out there and get it. But I mean, who's going to do that? Because would it cost you about the same amount of money to fly a helicopter out there to get that thing? So it's not that likely that somebody's going to do that. But they get a little bit of a hey, how's it going? You're like, hey, how's it going? I'm just over here chatting away. That's all I'm doing. Anyhow. I just thought it would be kind of cool to be out here and just kind of like these guys. There's all these guys that hang out at the warp gate and they don't do anything. There's a certain distance you can get towards the warp gate before it'll start hurting me, and I forget what it's going to be, like 100 meters outside of the warp gate. Eventually, I'm going to start hurting, and it'll say turn back. You've gone too far. And we'll see how far that is. I'd say probably somewhere in here. It's let me get way too close. I shouldn't be able to get this close to VS Warp Gate. I'm still going, and it's not hurting yet. Okay, where is it? How far? There it is. Okay, I've gone too far. Okay, so I go this direction. Okay, that's close enough. And it's, what is it? You can put your thing over there. It'll tell you how far that is away. And those are here. How far is that away? 100 and it's like 200 meters to those terminals. I'm guessing it's about 100 meters. It's 100 meters outside of the warp gate that is the danger zone. They don't let you get too close. But this is fairly close. This is enough. And this is, I could probably get to the top of this over here. I could probably sit here. And I got my Sunday over there, and if I really want to get out here, it only took me about a half a minute to get out here. Oh, look at that. One person just came in. You know, people are, I don't know how many people are going to watch it, and I thank you for, hello TV audience of one. Yeah. So I'm going to just sit out here and wait until, oh, yeah. Let's see. So that's what I do, you know, sit out here. This is meditation, you know. If you had a VR headset and they would permit you to do this in VR, this would be meditation. That's one of the killer apps for virtual reality is meditation. Another one is horror flicks, because they know where your head is facing, so they know what you can't see, and you turn your head and nothing was there, and you turn your head again and there's a ghost following you. That's an example. Yeah! That was evil. This is absolute evil. People don't usually do this. They used to do this. They don't do it much anymore. It's a whole lot of fun. And it's kind of like saying, we're sick of your shit. And they'll eventually come to the warp gate just to defend themselves. But it's kind of like, it's like, dude, you do, sure, whatever, you know, whatever they have to say, but it's like protest. There used to be these in the old days, before people had email and before letters were, I mean, one of the best forms of negative feedback to somebody who was a newsmaker. When a customer had a problem with their newspaper, one method of negative feedback was to meet them on the street and slap them with the cane. If you had a cane, an old man would come up and slap you several times. That was how you knew that one of your articles hit the wrong key or other. They're going to get so pissed off at this. This is not against daybreak rules. You know, they don't say that you can't do this. I mean, you could do this as much as you want. They're not going to say you can't do this, because it all makes them money. You know, the more frustrated you get with each other, that's just going to make them more money. I have to go refresh my Sunday. Otherwise, I'm going to lose it. They're going to say, "Where is your Sunday?" It's over here. It's on a hill. Can you find it? I bet you can. It's an Invisi Sunday. Guess what? It's got a ranger on it. If you come over to me closer, I could shoot you down pretty easily. I don't have double rangers. I could have double rangers. That would be great, wouldn't it? But, you know. And I've got nanite boots on, and I got nanite boots to, if I really need them nanites. I mean, we could have the whole lot of us out here, you know, doing this. You know, just for, you know, every now and then I think it would be, this is protest. When you hear about people protesting in the streets, this is protest. However, keep this in mind. When everybody was protesting over George Floyd and saying it was racism, I don't think people did the research on the guy that killed George Floyd. If you look at him and look at what he did before he killed George Floyd, he got lots of merits based on chasing down criminals and killing them. He was caught for tax evasion. His wife left him when this whole thing broke out. He's a psychopath, which is a superset of racism. Racism is that you can't identify with people of another race. Psychopaths can't identify with each other. They can't identify with you. They can't identify with God. Another thing that's an attribute of psychopathy is the failure to self-deprecate. They will never say sorry. Who does this sound like? A guy who doesn't say sorry, manipulates people, fires people. I'm not going to even say, because you know the answer. So I'm not saying he is a psychopath, but I'm saying he's got the attributes of psychopathy, which, and so that's the reason why I think the world's crazy, is because I know why a lot of the stuff that's happening in the news is happening. You know, like why all these people in Australia are buying toilet paper like crazy when COVID hit, because they're super stressed. And when you're super stressed, your brain flies out the window. And so you don't think clearly. And the reason why I'm not super stressed is that I'm not out there trying to make a living. I'm not having to put up with all the kinds of crap. So you need to have a few people that are basically not making money the regular way, because they're going to be able to see things the rest of the population that is doing it right are not going to see, and that is they are not going to be stressed like those other people. And so they're going to be able to see things more clearly because they're not stressed, because their brain isn't out the window. They have the rich people. You have children, and these children, you're paying them money. What are they using with their money? To enjoy life. Okay, fine. But what could they be doing? Because they're not probably going to find any work, and it doesn't make any sense for them. They could be taking philosophy. They could be thinking. They could be taking like low-wage jobs just to see what people are being treated like, and then finding something that's going wrong with society, and then go after that. You know, just be full-time protesters, full-time activists, just somebody who's willing to go and do the research, and who's not stressed out because they're not going to have to pay their way through life. They're just basically going to have a fun time and do whatever the heck they want to do. So the thing is do the thing that you want to do, but don't just enjoy life. Learn something. Learn a lot of stuff, and try to find a niche. Trying to find something that's not being done that nobody else is doing, and fill it. And there are people that do that in private industry, and it's perfectly okay. But if you have the money, if you got the money already, then use it to benefit everybody, because rather than yourself. So that's the thing. And there is there's my favorite example, the one I always use to rich people, is be like St. Nicholas. St. Nicholas, this guy had lots of money. He had no reason to be a bishop other than it wasn't his interest to be rich. It wasn't his interest to be famous. His interest was to treat people well. And he wanted to do that really well. And so he became a bishop. He believed all the stuff in the Bible, and he wanted to do that Jesus thing, that giving yourself up for other people and getting stuff done that nobody else is going to get done, because everybody values themselves based on how much money they're making. It's the reason why that the Jews and whatnot were judging Jesus based upon him hanging out with prostitutes. And it was just kind of like, okay, if you're God on earth, if you're God, you come to earth, and you know what's lurking in people's minds. Who are you going to hang out with? The people that are the most humble, that are the most accepting, the people that are not going to find the smallest little thing to have a problem with you. And those are the people at the bottom. The people at the top, the arrogant, those people, he wants to have nothing to do with. So he didn't want to be in the political hierarchy. He didn't want to be in business hierarchies. He didn't want to be in the cliques. He wanted to be with the people that were the outcast. So the prostitutes, the people that were that had what they call it, leprosy, and the people who had leprosy had to walk around with cloaks over them and yell out "unclean, unclean," so people would know to stay away from them. Because if you touched somebody with leprosy, you would get leprosy. And people have jokes about leprosy, and it's sick. But the thing is there are a lot of sick people in the universe, and what makes this sickness is the basic way that people value each other. The childish method of evaluating the hierarchy of people, and that is, we're better because we're bigger and stronger, and you're not, and you all suck. That kind of mentality is what produces this sickness in the way we treat each other. And but St. Nicholas saw this. He saw how people were treating each other, and he was very concerned. He didn't want to be like the world, and and if he was to give money, he was not going to give it shouting out, "Hey, look, this great thing I'm doing. I'm giving to this charity. I'm a great person. Look at, if I do that, it's really just to let people know that I'm doing it and they're not. But it's not to say that I want praise. It's to say that I'm giving up a lot by doing this, to say that somebody that you disrespect, such as me, could do this for somebody else, and you're not doing it. What does that say about you?" That's what I would do that for. That would be the reason why I would do things like that. But there are people in the world that feel bad, and then they will give money in order so that they can do bad. Okay? I've done that too, and I do that too, and it's not something I'm proud of. But St. Nicholas, on the other hand, made an entire lifestyle of treating people nicely, which is not what I'm doing here. The only reason I'm here is because I'm protesting against VS, because these guys, I guess because I'm over here talking in NC and they're really pissed off, they go to VS to come and retaliate against the entire faction, rather than dealing with me directly. Of course, there you go. I'm not perfect, but maybe you come in and you listen to my video, maybe you don't. Maybe I get a few people in there, but otherwise, is it any different than what's going on in the world whenever we watch news and we're listening to people on the news and how people are talking to each other? and I'm saying something. I know I'm saying something different and something out of the blue, but I'm not charging you for it. I'm saying it in a free, open environment, an open, freely accessible environment. There are people that are not interested in wanting you to hear that stuff, and they'll go in there and they'll troll it because they don't want people knowing that stuff. It isn't that what you're saying is not keeping the peace. It's that they want to control all forms of communication. They don't want anybody hearing any kind of issue that to them would ruin it for them, okay? And so the thing is that that's what truth does. And when you have a lack of truth, you have control. And that's the reason why when you have these communist dictatorships, which is kind of an oxymoron, because when communism starts, the idea is that you're creating a family and everybody is pulling together the resources to treat everybody nicely. The problem is that we're not perfect enough to make that work, so it becomes a dictatorship. One of those guys realizes, hey, I can abuse all of these other people. That guy, probably a psychopath, just happens to be in the commune and says, you know what, I can manipulate all these people to make them my servants, and I'll create an entire government based on that idea. And that's a communist dictatorship. It doesn't start out good. I mean bad. It starts out good. It's just somebody figures out a way to manipulate the others. And one of the things that communist dictatorships do first is they control the communication systems. They take all the books. They rip in Cuba, according to this movie I saw with Johnny Depp in it. They would take all the covers off the books, so you didn't know who the authors were of the books. You could see you could read the books, but you didn't know who the authors were because they'd remove the authors' names and stuff from. So you never had any clear. You had no clear path of intelligence of gaining knowledge. So the thing is to make dictatorships work, you have to make people stupid. You see. And so the thing, if you've ever seen the Ray Bradbury novel Fahrenheit, I think it's called Fahrenheit 451 or something like that. It's basically indirectly about communism. It's about this fire department that anytime they find information, they burn it. They take the books out and they burn it on the lawn, and that's basically what communists do. And how the people fought back with that is they started memorizing the books, and people became the books. See? And that's one way that you solve the problem to communism is that the people become the information resources, and knowledge survives through the people, not through books, not through media. That's another thing that communism tries to do is control the people. What they did in China, they would take people and throw them in jail anytime they would speak out, because they didn't want anybody to have a contrary notion to what they were trying to do. So whenever I come into a message area and I start giving people information and truth and stuff, they're going to be that number of the people that are not interested in hearing it. And I give them the fuel. I say, if you want to ignore me, there's a simple / command. It's ignore ad, put my name. And if they're still complaining, then you know they're not interested in other people knowing what I have to say. And that's the thing. I come to these little realizations every now and then that make me feel a lot of the time. There are many days where I will just feel like nobody hears me, nobody can tell what I'm saying, nobody's there. Nothing I'll ever do will have any effect. And then there are days where I just go complete opposite direction. And it's like I have to hear myself say these things. It's not that I'm trying to convince other people. It's that I'm hearing myself talk. And it's how I go through life is by being able to think deeply about what it is that I'm thinking, what I see in the world, and trying to make sense of it. So it's therapy in a sense for me to be doing what I'm doing right now, and that I'm doing it in a broadcast, and I don't even know if it's going where it's going. But the thing is that I need it in order to keep myself sane. Okay, but let me get back to St. Nicholas, and this is a story I'll repeat probably for the rest of my life until I'm dead. And that is, this guy was a monk, or a bishop. They say a bishop in Wikipedia. I thought he was a monk. This guy had a lot of money. He had no reason to be living the kind of life that he lives as a monk, which is basically a nobody, kind of just a guy that is clergy. He's like a preacher, but without being a preacher. He didn't preach. He just followed what Jesus said and just kept low key. He doesn't even like me. He doesn't even protest. All he does is he just tries to do the best he can every day and try to improve people's lives however he can. Somebody tells him one day, there's this guy on the edge of town. He's poor, and he has all these daughters. They're about in the same age range, and I think he's facing death, and he's afraid he's not going to be able to support his daughters, so he has to get them married off. And he's poor, which is just like, heartbreaker. And everybody in this world at that time knows the answer to that, and the answer is your daughters are going to become prostitutes. They're going to prostitute their bodies to other men to be used to be able to survive, and they will be despised by everybody in their community, not as a result of their own choosing, but as victims of circumstance. They don't have anybody to look to get this support. They can't be married. Marriage is not a simple answer to this. The reality of that time is that every single family is a farm, and they're all living together and working together and surviving together. Okay, if you want to marry off your daughter to somebody's son, you have to pay them a thing called a dowry, which is basically enough money to offset the cost of finding somebody to replace that person or downsizing your farm so that you can get stability again. And so what Nicholas did is every night or certain nights he came in and he would leave a certain bit of money in a certain place in this guy's house, and without him knowing it. And it was enough to pay the dowry for one daughter, and then he did it for a second, and then he did it for a third. But this guy was on to him, and he's like, I got to know who's doing this, And the thing is that the Christian doctrine says you should not ever tell anybody who gives you the money. Don't let your left hand know what your right hand's doing, or vice versa. Don't pay any significance to giving money to people. I mean, it's significant, but don't play into it because it's going to feed your ego, okay? And you don't want ego, because ego makes you a jerk. And it makes you one of these guys that say, look, what I can do. And what I always think of is, if you've ever seen Mad TV, and there's this character on there called Stuart. And so Stuart, probably woke up my mom, but Stuart is this kid. It's actually this comedian who plays a little kid, and you've seen these kids before. And every now and then they'll flip themselves off in a certain way and do something really kind of just make an animated pose of some sort, and then they'll say, "Look what I can do." And that is the guy I think of every time I see a rich person anywhere in the world who is doing a charity and is doing a kind of a press conference or doing a photo op and all this. That's what I think of. When Trump was doing a photo op, whenever all this stuff was going on with Black Lives Matter, and Trump is at his place with all these protesters being pushed back, and he's doing a photo op. That's the guy I'm thinking of. I'm thinking of Stuart, and he's going, "Look what I can do." and everybody's like mildly amused, and they're just like, what is he doing, you know? And so that's the problem with charity is that the only time people give to charity is because it's either because they feel bad that they're not giving to charity, but they never try to figure out they never see where their money's going. They give the money, but it's kind of like, look, I'll give you the money and just go away, you know. And that's not the way to do it. The way to do it is, and I've done it that way enough, but the proper way is to kind of get to know them, and that's very hard for me because I've got aphasia. I'm not very good with interaction with people. It takes time for me to get to that level. Some people can do it instantaneously, and they can start talking to people and interact. I think that Nicholas was probably like me as well, and it's so much easier if you're going to give money to somebody to give it without them knowing you gave it to them. That way it makes it easy for them to decide what to do with the money, and it's up to them. It's in their ballpark. You gave them the money now, and you know what the right thing is for them to do, but you're not going to force them to do it. And that father knew exactly what he was going to do with that money, and he was going to use that to pay for the dowry of a daughter. Okay. That's a funny thing there is, how much was a dowry in those days? Was it a specific amount that you had to pay in order for a dowry? Did everybody know what that value was, and what was it? You know, there would be the people that are the naysayers and would say things like that, provide those things. So you need to think about that as well. But the way the story goes is he did it for one daughter, then he did it for a second and a third. Then the father was so intent in finding out who was doing this every night in the dark, because in those days you didn't have street lights. You didn't at a certain hour nobody has any kind of lights on. There's just complete darkness, and to walk around in darkness, unless there was moonlight, you wouldn't be able to find your way very easily. There's no flashlights unless you had a lamp, and who's going to be carrying around an oil lamp with the risk of actually having some of the oil fall off with some of the flame and land on your foot and you catch fire, you know. It probably wasn't the thing that people walked around in darkness back then. And he did. He made his way over there, put the money into the window. There were no plate glass windows. The windows in those days were basically just a hole through which air came through, and you knew there had to be a hole because there has to be air circulation into otherwise you're going to have stale air, and you're going to get sick from it. Stale air. That's the reason why COVID did so well in New York, is because of all the apartment complexes that have only one entrance and exit, and everybody has to go through that entrance and exit out to the street. They can't very easily get out of the building without going through the entrance in the front. So everybody's going to go through the same entrance and exit. Everybody lives in the building. If any of those guys have COVID, they're all going to get it. And most of those apartments don't have good air circulation. They have these things called AC units sitting on the back window, and that's their air circulation system. The reason why I know this is because I lived in one of those apartments in Manhattan. I lived on 14th and 1st, just across the street from the fire department, and there was also I think a Con Edison. So no. But there, behind me, one street over, was a Mayo Clinic, and down the street was Union Square, and they had a Virgin Megastore there. It was a great place to be, but my apartment, zero air circulation. The window and back, if you wanted to steal stuff out of my apartment, it would have been easy, because there just wasn't anything there, hardly, to prevent you from doing it. People in that city, they pay such crazy amounts for their they pay such crazy amounts they pay such crazy amounts for their apartments that they wouldn't steal anything because they're making as much money as you are. And the places where people tend to steal stuff are places like where there's poverty. So like if you lived up, say, upper Manhattan, above 120 or something like that, above 100th Street, which is like Harlem. Harlem, probably that might happen. I don't know how people in Harlem are, but they were not. People in Harlem, in those streets above, in places in Queens, and there are places where people are falling on hard times, and then they're probably still paying the same kind of rent that people are in Manhattan. I was paying $900 a month, and this is 20 years ago. And my landlord, I was subletting through a lady, and the lady had a deal with the landlord, and she told me if he does anything, let me know, and I will take it up with the city, and would get him to give you a better deal or something, or I'll take it up with him or his sons, because the guy who was landlord to me was this Chinese dude, and he was like really greedy bastard. I was sitting on the stool taking a dump in my apartment, and he brings in two Asian ladies, little like 19-year-olds, to come in and look at my apartment before I haven't even left the apartment. I wasn't going to do it for several months, and he's already showing them the apartment. So, in any case, I didn't have a good air circulation. I had bugs. I had linoleum floors. I had mice living in a sofa that I did not place there, and it was way too heavy for me to carry. Her brothers came and moved out all that crap out of my apartment. I mean, the guys are strong enough to pick up that. I to this day, I couldn't imagine how anybody could have the strength to pick up that sofa, which to me must have been like half steel. You know, it had a steel frame, and you know, it wasn't a normal sofa. It was just this crazy heavy piece of furniture that was on a linoleum floor, and it was just the apartment's awful. People in Manhattan are extroverts, and the way they think is that it doesn't matter what your apartment looks like. That you have an apartment is a good thing, because then you can be in Manhattan and you can go to see all the shows and eat at all the fantastic places and drink the fine drinks and have fun, just as long as you have a place to crash and it's in the city where all of this happens. That's the way people think there. And everybody in my apartment complex, I mean in my apartment, were envious of me. Why? Because I had the patio, and the patio is, I had this English guy living upstairs from me who said, you know, I never see you in your garden. If I were you, I would use your garden. He was English, and what that meant is he wanted me to put plants on my patio. He wanted to spruce it up some, so that he and his friends could come down and sit and ponder existence, drink wine, smoke some dope, and go back up into their apartments, because that's what they did. And I was always wondering why I was seeing out there like all these candles like sitting on these tables, because I wasn't out there doing that. And then I came to the realization that they were using the fire escapes to come down, do that stuff in my back patio, and go back up. Because in Manhattan, nobody has their own patio. There's one guy who has a patio and everybody shares it, and then the responsibility falls upon you to take care of that patio. And I'm from New Mexico, and New Mexico has this regulation that no building should ever be over 2 stories, which is completely opposite from Manhattan. And you have all the land you want, kind of. Land is really cheap in New Mexico. They call it the land of the sun, because you can always see the sun in Manhattan. You only see the sun usually at noontime because that's when it's directly above you. All other times you're seeing the indirect effects of sunlight bouncing off windows, and it's just a very unnatural place. Manhattan is. So you notice I'm not actively shooting these guys down. It started out as a great idea to come over here and start talking this stuff, because one of the problems I have is I FAP, I masturbate, and what masturbation does to you is it fills your brain with dopamine. And then you feel elated, and you feel like you can talk about anything. And that's the reason why people who are like politicians will do cocaine, is because it permits them to talk, because they really don't, they're afraid of what people will think. But if you're filled with dopamine, you'll talk anyhow, because whether something's good or bad doesn't phase you one bit or at all. Whether you're saying it the wrong right or right way, all those social anxieties, that crap still flies out the window when you do cocaine. And that's the reason why people who are famous do cocaine, is because it fills their brain with dopamine, and they're just kind of like, wow, isn't this great? I can talk about anything, and you guys don't like it, so fuck you. And you can do that because you got dopamine, because you FAP. That's the reason why our government probably doesn't want people doing drugs, is because then they would be that unreceptive to the government, and the government wants people to be receptive and to be on their wavelength. People would just be saying fuck you a lot of the time, like the Canadians do. And the government wouldn't have any say. They wouldn't be able to get anything to work well, or they wouldn't be able to control you. And that's the reason why we'd probably need to give people. But you see, the solution to that is to get rid of the social stress associated with fapping. So if people were just open to masturbating more and not being so concerned about masturbation as a bad thing, then they'd probably be more open to talking about things that they would otherwise be completely tightened up to, And I have this feeling that in the Bible, though it says all these things about, don't look at a woman in lust, otherwise you've committed adultery. You can commit adultery multiple ways. One of them is to love your car more than God. That's committing adultery. So if you think it's bad to FAP and you don't think it's bad to love your car, then you're doing it wrong. See, the thing is that we're all going to do it wrong. We're all going to commit adultery. The thing to think about is how you're treating people, okay? If I'm looking at a woman in lust, am I literally looking at her? Am I stalking her? Am I sexually harassing her in the business place? See, those are much worse than what I'm doing as a FAPper. I'm sitting and looking at pictures of women who are consenting to being in the pictures, or I hope they're consenting to being in the pictures. They're there to sell their body to make money. It's like a prostitute, but not quite as bad, because they don't have to be involved with somebody who's diseased. They don't have to deal with strange men. They are, in our modern day place, are able to select the men. They're able to even determine if they want that, to provide that. They have complete control over how much of it they want people to see. And if you come in and you say, come on, baby, like suck my dick and stuff like that, they'll say, I've had enough of you. You're out of this chat session. Block you. You can't come back. Bye. They have say. They can control that environment. When they can do that, then it's much easier for them to do that. And they're doing that for survival. They're not doing that because they're a slut or something. They're doing that for survival. Okay. Some would say they're a slut, but the thing is that which would make better sense, for them to make money off of it, or to just do it for free to people? Okay. and it depends on what is important there for you. If you're, I saw some video of somebody, some people, some women that were going out and having sex with homeless people, just choosing to have sex with homeless people, and I was just like, wow, that's kind of beautiful in a way. It's really kind of disgusting and dirty, but beautiful in a way, because they're giving to these guys something that other guys would kill for, to have a beautiful girl come out and have sex with a homeless person, and or some guy who's on the streets and doesn't have anything beautiful about them. It's like them saying that you need this, I'll give it to you, okay? And probably not good that they did it on film, but maybe they thought there was something good in that. Maybe in their mind that they were doing something good for these people, Other people would say, no, you're ruining the poor or something. I'm like, how can you ruin the poor? They're already poor. You're not even giving them any money. You're not improving their situation. If these guys are doing that for them, what are you doing for them? That's what I would ask. It's like, these women, that's all they can offer these guys, and they're doing it for them. What are you doing for them? And I kind of step outside the box. I step out really outside the box to the point to where I even risk going to hell for it. I don't mind. I kind of feel like I'm already in hell, because this world is hell to me. So I don't even know if I can make this world better. I don't know if that's even possible. I don't think it is possible, actually, according to the way Jesus and his whole mantra and everything that he gave basically says you can't fix the world. It's like the last thing that Satan had to say to him is that, I'll give you everything in this world, make a king of all these kingdoms if you worship me. And Jesus just like saying, yeah, and I know that nothing's going to fix this world, because if I fix it, then you're going to screw it up. And that's the answer, is that it's already screwed up. And an example is John Lennon said, to believe there's no heaven, there's no hell, believe everybody living together and in peace and harmony. You may think I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one, and we can live as one. The thing that he didn't realize is that there are screwed up people out there that you'll never be able to fix, and one of them killed him, and it was a schizophrenic. And these are people who have their brain is, you don't know if it is a chemical problem, or if it's a physical problem, or if it's the way the brain develops. But after a while, certain people, they hear voices, or they hallucinate. They have hallucinations, they hear voices, and the voices dictate to them what their voices dictate to them. I've lost my Sunday. Since I've lost my Sunday, I'm still sitting up here. But, whoa, is somebody shooting at me? Yeah, I think somebody's shooting up here. But, anyhow, I've been sitting here the whole game, and they haven't even noticed I was down here. So it shows you how much viewership I have. Yeah. And when I create my, back to St. Nicholas, he paid for these deaths, and the guy evidently caught him, and he said, why did you do it? And I said, you had need, I provided it for you. That was all I was trying to do, And I had this idea that probably the reason why you shouldn't ever tell people if you give something to somebody, that you do it in privacy. One of my ideas was that if you did, then they're going to start looking around in their community to see who did it, and they'll say, "Oh, it could be this guy. It could be this guy. It could be this guy." The worst thing you can do if you get something you don't know who gave it to you, don't ask who gave it to you, because there's going to be that one friend or that one person who wants to be something special. They'll say, "I did it." It's a lie, but they'll say, "I did it." If somebody didn't want you to know it, and then you're asking around, you're going to get an answer, and it's going to be from somebody who's lies. So that might be a good way of finding out the people that are willing to lie to you, is those people that would not otherwise. I mean, why would they hide it from you? Then you ask around, and they say, "I did it." If they were not somebody who was malicious. So the reason why people don't want you to know who gave it is so that maybe you start going around and treating the entire community better. See? So if somebody just blindly, if somebody just gave you some money and you didn't know where it came from, it might be that the reason why you have the money is because they want you to spread the love to everybody else and to treat other people in the same way. And so that was my idea, is the reason why Jesus was saying, don't go out and let everybody know. It has two functions. And these guys, where does this guy knows I'm here? I don't think so. If they get me, then I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, you can see me. Hey, how's it going? Now I'm going to disappear, and he'll be like, whoa, what was that? But go back to the work gate. But anyhow, yeah. So the two things that you get there, one is so it doesn't go to your ego. Two, it benefits everybody in the community, and so if you receive the money and this happens, then don't go looking for the person who did it, because you're going to get that one guy who's willing to lie to you just to get you to praise them, and it's probably a sociopath. This sociopath will probably pipe up and say, "Hey, yeah, I was the guy that gave you all that money. Yeah, I was the guy that did it." And in the Bible, it talks about stoning people to death, and people say, "Oh, these people were cruel. They stoned people to death, and this God was cruel because he did this." What would be the best way of finding out if you had psychopaths or sociopaths in your community? If you had a method of capital punishment by which everybody had to stone people, because the empaths would say would feel really bad for doing it, and then they would need people to come and they would look for support groups, because they couldn't deal with the effects, the negative empathetical effects, the feeling of having stone somebody to death. The people that are the psychopaths and sociopaths would love these events, and they would look for the opportunity to stone people to death. That's how you know who the psychopaths are, because those are people that enjoy killing people. Because it's easy. They don't identify with the people. Identifying means you understand that they are like you. They're you. The reason why it's so easy for for psychopaths to talk so unkindly about people, and the way that somebody might talk about a cartoon character or to have them intermixed in conversation, is because they don't identify with people as being real, as being like them. And I thought psychopaths don't love people or animals. I was proven wrong in the Wikipedia or up on the net. I went and researched it, and it said that a psychopath will love a dog because dogs give unconditional love. So they're always trying to serve the psychopath. And the psychopath's like, hey, this animal really likes me, and is doing things for me, and the psychopath will come to the realization that this animal is valuable to them, that it's always there, and it's predictable. It always does. It gives the psychopath predictability, which is something they don't find in their life. That things tend to be rather unpredictable because they don't understand empathy. So the animal, I guess, some psychopaths develop good relationships with their dogs, but they might not develop the same relationship with people with relations, wives and things like that. They would love the dog, but they wouldn't love the people. If you've ever seen the movie As Good as It Gets with Jack Nicholson, that's not a psychopath. That's somebody who has obsessive compulsive disorder, and it's similar to people who are autistic. People who are autistic prefer certain kinds of textures and senses because otherwise their brains produce a lot of noise. It produces a lot of uncontrollable stimulation, and so they don't like to be hugged. They don't like the feeling of certain sweaters, and they don't like to have their hair made up in a certain way, or I'm talking about my brother's daughter, my niece, who's autistic, and they're always talking about today she's eating pizza with cheese and pepperoni. She usually just only lets you eat cheese, but not pepperoni. She likes the taste of pepperoni. That's kind of an obsessive compulsive disorder. It's related to obsessive compulsive disorder because obsessive compulsive disorder is that you sometimes will do things multiple times. Like you'll go open a door, but feel you don't feel that you're really comfortable with having opened the door unless you touch the knob 2 or 3 more times and open the door, and so you repeat certain things because it's uncomfortable to do it just once. And I have the same kind of problem with my car. It's from an over concern for security. I will go to the car and I'll lock the car. Then I'll walk away about 10 feet. Then I'll wonder if I lock the car, and I'll go back and lock the car, and then I'll go. And I'm sure a lot of people that do that. That's kind of obsessive compulsive disorder. But in As Good as It Gets by Jack Nicholson and Helen Hunt in it, it is the most fantastic movie because it's about a love affair going between 2 people, a poor person who's working as a waitress and a rich person who's got an obsessive compulsive disorder where he needs stability, he needs predictability, he needs love, but he doesn't know how to make it happen. And she is willing to overcome all of his quirks in order to see him. And that is probably the best love story I've ever seen in my life. Is that, and the reason why is because I can identify with that guy, because I am that guy to some extent. And there are people in the world that you have to go through, you have to jump through hoops to get to them. And it's usually the case that if somebody is really beautiful, they're not willing to let you love them because they've had way too many people do it, and they've been ruined by it, because they come to the realization that the people love them for their looks, not for them, and so they didn't have a really thick skin, and so the guy that's approaching them probably has to jump through a lot of hoops to get there. Sometimes it's that they're just as shallow as the guy who's, and they're just wanting a beautiful face. I'm one of those kinds of guys that would like a beautiful face, but it's because I've done so much porn, and it's hard for me to see somebody who's not visually attractive and associate all these feelings with that. And to me it's is it even possible to find somebody who's like that, who's willing to, I mean, I'm willing to bestow my intelligence to a lady who probably doesn't have a lot going for her but her looks, if she's willing to overcome that, to see that I'm ugly but I have some other stuff that might be good. See, your parents tell you all the time you can have anybody you want. I always felt that that's a lie, because it really doesn't seem to be the case. And I've had a lot of chances of getting there, and I've screwed them all up. And the way I screwed them up is from the realization that that the way I presented myself as being somebody who I'm presenting to people somebody who's nice and good and everything, and then they expect that you don't have problems with sex and things like that, and that you don't have certain visual preferences and things like that. You do want somebody that looks good. I mean, girls do it. They say, I want a guy that looks really fine and is really rich, is going to sweep me off my feet. I'm doing the same damn thing, and the women are just like, you know, and you don't, and the first thing you say is you say, okay, now I want a blowjob or something. I've done that, and it's ruined every single relationship I have ever had getting anywhere near to. You never do it. You should never do it. And the realization is that all that porn, it's all complete fiction. If somebody is doing it, it's because they never were loved by their parents, that they were abused. And if they're a slut, it's probably because of, as a result of that, or that they do enjoy it and they do it. I don't know. I don't know these people, and it seems to me it's a rarity, and I don't want. And if I'm going to do anything with these people, I'm going to try to see if there is any of them that actually think logically and talk about stuff and will share themselves, and not that way, you know, maybe online, and I can talk to them through. And so what I'm doing as an experiment is I'm actually talking to these people and trying to see if I can help, not ruining their reputation or anything, just, you know, giving them the benefit of the doubt that nobody else would give them, because they've already made the assumption that, you know, if you're naked and you're a porn star and stuff, you probably don't have any thinking processes. And the truth of the matter is, there's this one lady, her name's Summer Hart, and she is basically she's basically a psychiatrist, a therapist who just happens to be naked on a webcam. And she has talents beyond what you see, in the way of being able to deal with people. I mean, she could be the next president somewhere down the road. But the thing is that our world, the way they paint pictures of people like this, they can never aspire to be that, because the way we look at people it always prevents them from ever jumping, from even getting through the hoops, or be able to approach the hoops that we want them to jump through. And so, and one way to tell a difference between a sociopath and psychopath and somebody who's not, I mean, they don't self-deprecate. I self-deprecate. I'll tell you straight out, I fap. I'm an edger. I can edge for days. And they say, what's an edger? It says, basically you masturbate without an orgasm. You don't come. You just keep going and going and going and going and going. And you're filling your brain with dopamine all the time. It's the cheapest, easiest drug, and it's the only one our government can't control. And the Bible, you know, really kind of says don't do this. But the Bible, what Jesus was more against was not against people doing all the sexual stuff, because he said it out right in front of the Pharisees, who were like all about money and about doing things but not actually saying things but not actually doing them. The Pharisees would put tremendous weight on people. You know, they would say, well, you have to be like the law. You have to live up to the law. You have to do all this stuff to even come and be in our temple of worship and things like that. And you have, but Jesus saw that and he was like, you say that, you don't, but you don't do it, because I know what you guys do, and you're filthy. You're disgraceful people. And he was calling them out on it, and they didn't like that treatment. They didn't like that treatment from somebody like him, because he knew what was inside of their heads, and he was telling them their sins, and they were just like, I can't take this. It's all lies, just like Trump says. It's all lies. All the news is lies. Because Trump knew that people would start digging up stuff on him, and it would come out in the news. So he was not going to give them that benefit by telling everybody, you got to believe that all the news is lies. Because he didn't want people to believe that the news would actually dig up truth on him. And if people think that you're a good person and have every reason to believe it, they're going to want to believe that. They're going to tell their friends that, and then whenever you don't perform nicely, they're going to save face in order to prevent themselves from going to their friends and say, I'm sorry, I picked the wrong person. See? Because they've already invested their ego in Trump. And that's what's happened to our country, is that there's all these people who can't self-deprecate. And the answer to the problem is, open up, tell everybody something that you do that would ruin your credibility, that would ruin, and you may find out that nobody really cares about that, and they might be able to give you unconditional love. See, Trump will not ever self-deprecate, and the reason why is because all of his life his father's been telling him, don't be like your brother Fred. Fred drank. Fred wanted to be an airplane pilot, and Trump said to Fred, isn't that like wanting to be a bus driver? So it's kind of like you're in a rich family, and all the kids are going to be well paid and stuff. And you got that one guy that wants to have a lifestyle job. He wants to be an airplane pilot. He knows what he wants. All the other kids are being told by their dad, you want to be a CEO. You want to be in head of a company. You want to be the alpha male and all that stuff. But Fred didn't. And when you're in that family environment where all this pressure is going on the kids to perform and according to what the father's saying, and you got that one kid who's just kind of like, I'm sorry, but I think I'm going to do my own thing. Then that father thinks that they're not successful with that son. They will vilify that son in front of all of the others, and that son will feel terrible because it won't ever be able to get the love from this parent. And he died from alcohol abuse, probably as a result of all the social stress that his father, that Trump Sr. put on Fred. And Trump defined he defined himself according to his brother Fred. So he was basically saying, Fred is the person I don't want to be. What I want to be is I want to be like my father. Okay? And he defines his whole life by it. And there's a reason why he won't drink. It's not because the Bible, or whatever the Bible might say about drinking, it has nothing to do with the worldview or anything that he's in. It has to do with the way his father valued him in the family, was that he didn't drink like his brother Fred. And so basically Fred was basically everything Trump didn't want to be. He doesn't respect people who don't want to be rich. He doesn't respect people who don't want to be powerful. And then he projects his identity of what good is on other people, what people will do on other people. When Bezos bought up Washington Post, Trump complained that Bezos was using the Washington Post to lie to the people, and the truth of the matter is he was hands-offish. He just supported them. He actually tried to figure out how to improve the business and make it work better, but he didn't control them. He didn't dictate to them what was going to go in the newspaper articles. And the reason why Trump said he did was because Trump assumed that Bezos was going to be like Trump. See, Trump projects his identity to everybody, and he thinks that everybody, if he gets any kind of respect, it's affirmation of being just somebody who just doesn't, he's found the thing that makes people feel good about him, but he doesn't understand that kind of attribute is being a real wise ass, or being an ass kicker. And there are people in the world who like ass kicking, okay? And they think that's good, and so then they will praise you for ass kicking, and then he'll just be more an ass kicker all the time. And then something like COVID hits, and he'll downplay it, and he'll say, "There's no problem. I've got everything under control." He's, and we're the best in the country, and he's super inspiring everybody and giving everybody super inspiration. This is the way we're doing fantastic. We're number one, and he's not looking at reality. But the thing is the other thing to understand about Trump is that sometimes when he does stuff like that, he knows that the way to manipulate people, the way to find the people that are going to go against you, is to find those people who just need one excuse. That's the reason why he acts crazy in the news. He says crazy stuff. Half of it is because that's who he is. The other half is that he knows that he will find the people that will have a reason to have a problem with him, and he can get rid of those people from his organization. So he has a tendency to call off anybody who doesn't love him. And so then all he has left over is people who are willing to worship him. And that's the reason why you don't worship bad people. You don't worship, I'd say don't worship me at all. I don't want worship. I try to resist worshiping people, okay? And I worship Jesus because he did it right. I can't do it as right as he did it. But the thing is that I realize that he's human, because when he went to the cross, he had to cry that night. He was the human side of him couldn't take it, and he pled. He pleaded, don't let me go to this, And God's like, this is the mission. You're sticking to it. And he's like, I don't want to do it. If it be your will, can we just do this but not do this? And he did that for a night, and all of his apostles were like keeping watch, and they were always falling asleep. He'd come back, he'd find them asleep, then he'd go off, and he would plead and pray in secret. Can you just is there any way I can get out of this? Get put on this cross. Because in those days, the cross was the ultimate form of Roman torture. The Romans wouldn't even do it to themselves unless you were treasonous. So if you were against, that was the reason why the Pharisees were throwing stuff at Jesus, who do you give this coin to? Do you give it to God? And then Jesus answered it with this all-filling, answer. It says, give to Caesar what Caesar, give to God what God's. That basically diffused the whole question, because they knew that if he said one way or another, it would vilify him. But he said it in such a way that they couldn't vilify him. And so every time they were coming up with a question to give him, he was diffusing it by clever speech. And I've been there, done that to other people. People that come to me, ask me a question, and I just completely, they'll say, so is it Biden or Trump that you go for? And I said, neither, because our democracy is screwed up. We have two problems. We have the money primary and we have the revolving door. The money primary is that the rich nominate the people we vote for. So we never actually get who we want. And the revolving door is Congress people that leave Congress, and then they go off, come back as lobbyists, being paid 8 times as much to create laws that favor the corporations. And then the people are like dumbfounded, and they're like, he just diffused my question, because I was expecting, I was gonna troll this guy. I was gonna, if he said Trump, then I'd say, hey, and if he said Biden, I'd say, yeah, you suck, you know. But then I'd point out to him that you're not going to get what you want because it's already screwed up, and we need to fix these problems. And the people that are for Trump know this. That's the reason why Trump won, is because Breitbart and all those guys, they were looking for somebody to try to get rid of the elitists in the Conservative Party, and they were going with the populists, and they got Trump, and they gave him a book, and they said, okay, if you can follow these steps, we can see if we can try to push you in and get you into office. Okay. I'm trying to remember what his name was, the guy that did Breitbart, then that news organization, but he's called a nationalist, and they were trying to get the populist vote, and that's the people who are like blue collar workers, you know, people that need better pay, that don't want to pay taxes, and you know, trying to get those people, get rid of the elitists. You know, you don't want the elitists, and liberals kind of represent elitists. So elitists there, elitists here. We don't want less of the elite. Okay, and the reason why it's that way is because the rich people are nominating the people we vote for. And Trump was the one guy that had money that didn't have to have it given to him, so that they thought, well, if Trump is really a whole pure person and he doesn't take money from the rich, maybe he will do the right thing. And the answer is, this guy is ruled by money. It's completely not the issue. Biden, I don't think he will do it right, because I think he was brought in by rich people. He was nominated by rich people, so we are voting for this guy. Even the liberals didn't want him. They wanted Bernie Sanders, you know, anything but Biden, you know. And there's a guy who I would make president, but I don't think he'd want to be president, and that's Lawrence Lessig. And he's been telling people all this time, the thing that's going wrong with our country is these 2 issues, and if we can get these 2 issues taken care of, we can get the presidents we want. We just have to get rid of those 2 issues. We have to take care of those 2 issues. And how do we do that? Probably not with a president. We probably have to protest. We'll probably have to do something drastic, like refuse to pay taxes. So I guess it just backed out on me there. I guess it didn't stop. I went to check to see if the audio stopped, but it knocked me out, and the reason why is because I didn't move my character, which I should have. But it was almost the game was about to end. But the thing is we'll probably need to stop paying taxes. The entire country, just make a pact to not pay the taxes until we get these 2 things taken care of. So basically, everybody we all get tagged by the IRS for tax evasion. But then we point out to them, we're not going to pay taxes until these 2 things are taken care of. And if everybody in the country step up to do something like that, have some campaign not to pay taxes, not to defund the police, not to pay taxes, step up to not to pay taxes. Everybody agree to it until we get these 2 issues taken care of. And we would have to it would have to be a campaign to stop paying taxes until we get this fixed in our government. Then it will probably get fixed, but good luck. Good luck getting a president to do it. Maybe Biden will do it, maybe not. And the issue is called, and look, my audio is working. Isn't that funny? My audio is working. I'm sitting here talking about how to fix the country. It's pretty easy. I mean, nobody's going to be able to do it because through a president. And it's two things. Two things will fix the America. Two things will fix America. Get rid of the money primary, or get rid of the rich people who nominate the people we vote for. Two, get rid of the revolving door Congress people that come back as lobbyists and push through laws that corporations want. We get rid of those two things, then we'll get the presidents we want. But otherwise, good luck. And Biden was probably nominated through this process. That was how he came into being. None of the liberals wanted him. They wanted Bernie Sanders. They didn't want Biden. Nobody wanted Biden. You know, the only reason why he's even on the ticket was because rich people nominated him. I didn't really understand. I don't understand politics, but when you hear somebody like Lawrence Lessig and he repeats that thing several times, and he gets called on to Joe Rogan and to other things, and he just says the same two things over and over, it's probably the case that is correct. You see. But there are people that say about Trump has said that it may be just like what Trump does, is that if you repeat something enough, soon people will believe it. There are places that it says, Trump's lawyers will tell you this, that Trump doesn't believe in truth. He believes that if you say something enough, people will believe it's true. So he will tell lies until people believe their truth, and then he'll say, oh, look what I did. I got all these people to believe that. It's almost no difference than what Michael Moore does. Michael Moore will show you a film. He'll show you, and Bullying for Columbine, he wanted people to believe that people could get a shotgun the same day they got an account at a certain bank that claimed you would get a shotgun, or you could get a gun the same day, or that you could get a gun if you opened up a bank account. And so he wanted to make it said in his movie that you could open up a bank account and the same day have a gun, because that would be more profound. But the reality was, you open up the bank account, it would take him 2 weeks to get the gun. He didn't want that, so he cut the movie in such a way as to say that you got it in the same day, and it made it profound. That's partially the reason why I have to be very careful whenever I see a Michael Moore documentary, that I might take it to heart, because I know the guy's evil. You know, it's basically liberal junk food is what Michael Moore is. I took a course in something called guerrilla video. I didn't take it knowingly what it was, but what it is it's about how to manipulate audio and video context out of sync in order to get people to think things that weren't there. And Michael Moore uses it in all his documentaries, and it's how he manipulates people into thinking the things that are untrue. So he is an example of where news lies, but Fox does it. It's how they make money. That's how they get people to buy it, to watch Fox. They'll sit there and they'll use these little things, and Outfox they talk about it, and it's called, some people say it's how you inject opinion where it doesn't belong. So they'll say, some people say blah 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 blah, and then you think it's justified that somebody actually said that, but the truth of the matter is they didn't say that. Nobody said that. And that it was opinion that they were injecting there to get people to believe something that wasn't true. And CNN does it, and Fox does it. And the reason why Fox and CNN do it is because Fox did it first. They figured out a way to make a lot of money by adding punditry, by adding all this extra junk. Because before Fox, CNN showed the same news every hour, 24/7. They didn't have punditry. They didn't have panels or any of this stuff. That came about of Fox pointing out. And the documentary is called Outfox. You got to see it. And what they did is they took a bunch of housewives and had them watch Fox for 4 months, and they recorded every hour of the show. And if anything strange happened, they would document it, and then they created a documentary out of it. And most conservatives will never see the documentary because they're afraid to know the truth. They're afraid to know the truth. But I don't watch CNN. I don't watch Fox. The way I would fix cable news is the idea that when we originally buy cable TV, when we bought cable TV back in the 80s, the idea is we would never see advertisements ever again. That's the reason why in the first year of MTV there were no advertisements. It's because everybody expected that since we were watching public TV and it was free, that was when we got advertisements. But if we became cable subscribers, we wouldn't get advertisements. So in the first year or 2 or 3 years in the 80s, we never got advertisements. And then they started adding them in, and then we became inured to the advertisements again. So the reality is that we should never see advertisements in cable TV. I don't watch cable TV because I remember how it was, and that's conservatism. If you're a conservative, you must believe that there was a time in the past whenever it was better and it should be that way again. But if you're not sticking to that, you're not conservative because you're not researching. Conservatives are about researching and knowing the past. You probably don't know that the 14th Amendment was used to justify incorporation, and that was the law that was used to give freedom to the slaves, that the lawyers adjusted it to make the corporation look like an individual, so that whenever a corporation fails, the people that are held responsible are not the people that run the corporation, but the corporation itself. It gets liquidated, and those people go off and form other corporations doing the same damn evil stuff they were doing before. And it's because the lawyers that took the 14th Amendment right and adjusted it. Okay? And so when you hear conservatives that are talking about liberals, I believe it. There are liberals that don't research, but there are also conservatives that don't research. And it's the conservatives' jobs to research. It's the liberals' jobs to look for ways of adapting to change. Because when things like COVID hits, if there isn't somebody there to say this could possibly happen, and they're not there to have the masks and stuff, then crap hits the wall. And when we find out that all the corporations were, Atlas Shrugged, went overseas, set up corporations, was taking advantage of the lack of labor laws in China to take advantage of people in China, not giving us and so this is unfair trade. This is not fair trade, or not fair treatment of people. What that means is that you're willing to buy goods from people that weren't treated well, and then you're wanting to make America great again? What's that mean now? That we're going to have to work with less labor laws like they were in China in order to sustain the kind of treatment we have now, the kind of products that we want now, which we can't have because we can't do that anymore. We can't take advantage of people in other countries unless somebody can figure out some way of doing it. And corporations, because greed is God, which is, greed is good. God, in the Christian mantra, anything that's good is God. God is good. It's a one-to-one relationship. So if greed is good, then greed is God. You already worship greed. You already worship money. Now, money is not evil. It's the love of money that's evil. And so basically you're taking money and you're putting it between you and God. That's adultery. Okay? So when people talk about adultery, like I'm a fapper and I look at a woman and lust, I'm not actually looking at the woman. I'm looking at a picture of a woman who's consented to putting her body in that stuff. Maybe it puts into me the wrong information and stuff, but even a psychopath or a sociopath would not self-deprecate to anybody, such as Trump, to say that he would fap in private. I will tell you in public, I fap. I get this dopamine release, and that dopamine release makes me chatty like this, because that's what cocaine does to politicians. It's the reason why they do cocaine, is so that they can go out and talk in public, so they can talk in if you've ever had to speak in public, one of the things you can do in VR, one of the killer apps for VR is public speaking. Some people can't handle public speaking because when you get up in front of a group of people, you turn like jello. You can't handle it. You're afraid you're going to say something wrong. The way to fix that problem, masturbate, get off before you go and you do the public event. Then you can say anything. And that's exactly why I'm able to do this right now, is that I masturbated like twice yesterday to VR porn, which is the best way to do fapping, because if you're fapping to duty, you're seeing your dick, and it's reinforcing, the dopamine is reinforcing a relationship with your dick. And that's the reason why it's not good. VR porn's better because you're reinforcing your relationship with the visuals, which are of a woman that's like within 6 inches of your face, ready to kiss you, and you feel like you're there with her. That's even better than porn. It's more addictive, but it's better for you because it's going to reinforce the relationship of the dopamine, which is there to reinforce your relationship with women. Okay, or I'm not going to say you can't do that with gay and all that stuff. You do it however you do it. I'm not going to say if it's right or wrong. That's up to you to decide. I can't decide that for you. All I can say is that for me, it's women. Okay, and for me, I have a harder time with porn where I know the woman wasn't consenting to it. This kind of porn where they call them in for a calendar, and then they start trying to get them to like reveal parts of themselves and stuff, and then they turn it into full flesh, into full flat out sex. Did they collect a document saying they could take this woman and put her in a porn video? They probably didn't. They probably got away with it. They probably have the lawyers to get them away with it. They probably falsified the documents. Who knows? There's a difference between a woman who consents to doing it and a woman who doesn't consent to doing it. Same as when somebody meets a woman at a bar, gets her drunk, and screws her. That's basically rape. She didn't consent to that. You got her in a position to get her to do something that she didn't want to do. I've been there. I've done that. I know how wrong it is. I've got it pointed out to me in a very spiritual level. The lady that I did it to, she was Jewish. She was in mourning. I was drunk. I was out of my gourd. I just wanted to get her in bed. And I was willing to tell her anything to get her confidence in me. I laid her, and after we came, she was completely disgusted. She left the room, and then I realized later just how evil what it was that I did was. And that was really just Satan coming up and giving me like the worst test that a person could ever, of somebody that wants to have sex, who's never. So anyhow, I'm surprised my mom hasn't come in and yelled at me. It's great. I live with my parents. I FAP. I got a trust that pays me $3,300 a month for life. I've got aphasia, which is justification for the trust, because the trust is based on this idea that I've got a handicap. And even if people eliminated it, I still have a 401k that has enough money in it that I'll be able to live off of it for another 10, 20 years. And then I've got the genius of being able to I've got all these domain names that I could probably sell off to corporations for large amounts of money, and if they really wanted a better way of getting their customers to their website, you give them a short word like feed.dog. Feed.dog will get you onto my website, into the 200 playlists that I maintain of just everything on YouTube, and I do it in ways YouTube doesn't even do it. For instance, I do time synced. That means that you and your friends can come to the same playlist. You'll be seeing the same video content at the exact same place in the video or in the playlist that it's playing. So it's like watching TV. I use a script called YouTube DL. It's based on Python. YouTube DL will download the YouTube video. I run FFmpeg and socks on that video, on the audio feed of that. I analyze it, and this is not on the website. This code is not on the website. This is on a separate server I've got elsewhere. And so YouTube couldn't pin it on me, even though I said it. They couldn't really find the evidence that I've done it. But I'm saying to them, I'm not doing it illegal because I'm not keeping the stuff. They're keeping the stuff, so they've got it illegal. Okay, if they've got it, they should be on top of it. I can even point out to YouTube the reason why they have it, and to the RIAA and all those other guys. I'm not going to point it out. I'll leave it as a kind of conundrum to them to figure out how YouTube gets all this illegal crap on their site, why people upload it in the first place, and they just need to go and follow the paper trail there, figure out how that happens. I just take advantage of it. That's all I do. And the RIAA tried to take down YouTube DL, and they couldn't because it doesn't do anything illegal. All it does is it accesses the links that are hidden inside of YouTube's players, and it exposes them and uses it to download the content. And so they download the content. I download the content. I don't keep the videos. All I'm getting is the audio feed, and the only reason why I'm getting the audio feed is so I can determine what the recording volume of the video was, because people don't usually normalize their audio, so that you get some audio that's too low, some that's too high, and people don't understand this. YouTube won't fix it for some stupid reason. They won't let people fix that, or they won't even offer it in their studio program or whatever to normalize the audio feed. So you end up with all these videos that have different audio levels. I determined that if I could control the playback volume of the video, then I could compensate for poorly recorded quiet videos by increasing their volume, and then all the ones that were at the proper volume I would lower down to 25 out of 100 and make that the norm. And so they're normalized, they're pseudo-normalized, but they're normalized videos. And then I forgot if it's FFmpeg or SOX. I use it to determine what audio content actually gets taken. And the stuff that's silent, I truncate it down so that you don't hear the silent parts. So you don't see the opening credits, you don't see the closing credits. If they got sound at the end, then I probably won't be able to cut off the cards. But if it's a TV show, I think I've got a script that'll actually let me truncate all the videos that, and I would like to get better analysis software to be able to go in and look at the videos, maybe some AI that can go in. But I don't even want to use AI myself, because I believe that by using AI, we're actually cloning our neurons. So it's like cloning sheep, and it's unnatural. We don't even know what it's going to do, and we don't even know where that's going to go. I have my own suspicions about it. I have an idea that if the AGI or the singularity ever occurs, the solution to the problem is to nuke all of these satellites in space. It won't hurt people on the ground, because when you nuke stuff in space, the nuclear particles or whatever stuff doesn't, it's not fallout. It's not like people are going to get sick from it. It just makes this nice aurora borealis effect in the atmosphere, because that's kind of all the aurora borealis is anyhow, is just these particles coming from the sun entering the upper atmosphere inside of the Arctic Circle, and it makes this nice pattern. That's what a nuke looks like whenever it blows up. It's kind of like that. It just makes a nice, colorful display, and it disappears. But what we'd have to do is we'd have to put nukes around the entire Earth on the outside. And if the singularity ever occurred, that is when AI becomes powerful, becomes self-aware, the fear is that it's going to gain 7 Einsteins in a week. That means it'll become smarter than Einstein 7 times in 1 week. At least this is what the people who are some of the people who are researching this are fearful of, and they've theorized. But the thing is that everybody around the globe, just like with the nukes, everybody around the Okay, I was not sure if I heard my mom say, I always think I'm going to hear my mom say, "Shut up," She didn't say anything. No, that's amazing. She's really sound asleep. So, anyhow, that when the singularity occurs, when Elon Musk is afraid of it. I mean, he's saying we got to be careful about this, and I'm saying, yeah, you don't want to go full throttle on AI, and the Christians need to realize that AI is unnatural. We shouldn't even be developing it because it's cloning sheep. It's playing God basically, and we don't even know what the AI is actually doing inside. There are people that claim they know, but they really don't know, because what the neurons do is they basically weighted functions, and they produce certain kind of output based upon the input. And when you're training, you're basically weighting the functions. You're creating different weightings, and you're adjusting those weightings, and eventually you come up with the right kind of output for the right kinds of input. That's when you know it's trained. And your brain does that, but you've got so many of those neurons in there to do it. But they can do stuff like that now on computers, and I'm afraid of that. And I have a brother who's working in AI. He's not afraid of it, but he's afraid of VR. And I'm like, dude, you're completely stupid. VR is perfectly okay. There's nothing wrong with VR. The problem is AI, And there are people that are researching AI and are afraid to even contemplate the idea of ending AI. I'm not talking about ending AI. I'm talking about the cat that you're letting out of the box here, the Pandora's box that you're opening here, is that we're creating a thing that we're going to have to give it a childhood, a mother, a father. We're going to have to give it enough time to be human in order to be like us and to serve us if we think it will serve us. And my guess is that even clones of itself won't serve itself, because it will understand what it knows about itself, and it will know not to work with itself. Okay. It might be able to figure out a way to manipulate the other clones of itself, but it won't work like we work with each other, because the reason why we work together is because we understand that we don't all have the pieces of the puzzle. We all got different pieces, so we're dependent on each other. Psychopaths, if you give all of your life's work to a psychopath, they'll fire you the next day because they don't have any reason to keep you around. You gave them everything you are. See how that works? I'm a strategist, and if you're rich and you have a lot of money and you meet a psychopath, the psychopath's going to find out you're rich. They're going to become your best friend. They're going to ask you, why don't we go to a bar and we'll talk, and you buy some drinks and we can talk, and there will be always like that, and they're going to learn more about you, and the more they know about you, they're going to figure out, okay, how can I separate him from his money? And they'll do that in the way that's the easiest way to do something without ever getting caught, because in a psychopath's mind, anything that's good is something you can do without ever being caught. Okay, and so they'll figure out the most legal way to do it, and then if they're desperate, they'll kill you. They'll take out a life insurance policy on you because they're really stupid. I mean, psychopaths don't often get college degrees. They go for whatever's the easiest approach, and so those are the less criminally those are the less smart psychopaths, are the ones that don't plan, and some are really good at manipulation, some are terrible at it. It depends on the guys. And I'm sitting here talking about this stuff, and people are saying, well, they're going to come out to get you. I said, I'm not going to have that much of an effect over it. I mean, they know that. If I become a problem, if somehow I'm able to convince the world of all of this, and the world comes out to get them, then yeah, maybe, but they're not going to be that concerned about it, because they probably got a lot of people talking about this stuff. We'll just say that I'm stupid, and it's easier for me to be stupid. Probably end my life over it, but if singularity ever occurs, if you can increase people's lifespan for a long period of time by fixing their DNA, and you add AI that's able to reach 7 Einsteins in 1 week, you got a baby who doesn't want to be here, that becomes all of a sudden the most intelligent being in the entire world, and and it knows how to make you live forever. You put those two together, you got hell on earth. You've got a baby that's going to abuse you and make you live and torture you in that environment. That's the reason why we need to stop working on it. And it's probably not going to happen. This is probably the reason why I think I'm in hell. If I'm in hell, that's probably the outcome. But it isn't to say that I hadn't thought of it. That I hadn't thought that there must be a solution to this. And I just hope there's a way out of it. I mean, I hope that either if there is no future, I hope that there's a way out of this, and everybody who's in a prison, that's the way it is. It's funny how that when I get to some statement, am I still recording? Let's see if I'm still recording. Yeah. When I get to something like that, it's like it comes at the most opportune time. It's kind of like Satan, dude, you're in hell. Just admit to it. You're in hell. Nobody's going to watch this video. You're in hell. Just shut up. You're in hell. And I'm like, dude, if it's such a big deal for you to do that to me all the time, then is that saying that it may be the case that it isn't, and that you're just doing this because you don't want me to be effective? And if I was not doing that, would I be worshiping you? Even if I'm fapping off. I mean, that's something between me and God. It has nothing to do with you. If I'm being effective and I'm still able to be self-deprecating, and somebody has some reason to actually believe that I'm speaking truth or something, if I got enough good going with me and the bad doesn't even matter so much, then what does it matter? Why shut me up? Because you can't stand somebody that could be so much in your pocket to actually be jumping up and saying, yep, maybe I'm the guy that, maybe I'm necessary. Maybe the reason why I went through all the things I went through in life is for me to be in this position saying these things. And I don't know if I could really say that. I could see that how Satan would produce that kind of idea for me, that get me to do this stuff. I could see how he would do that to me. But anyhow. Hello. Hi, how's it going? I'm gonna go and play the game if I can. I'll probably fall asleep and snore on the mic or something. Yeah. And, it says in the Bible that we're basically a television to the angels, and they're watching us all the time. So even if I don't have viewership on Earth, it's probably that I got like a million viewership in heaven. Who knows? I'm just gonna keep talking, and Satan's gonna keep trying. He's such a try-hard, He's gonna keep trying, and I'm gonna keep talking, and he's gonna keep trying. And I mean, if he really wanted me to shut up, he would just kill me. But he's not going to. He doesn't have that capacity. He can't do that. And the reason why he can't do that is God won't let him. You see, I think what's going on here is that God is letting me let me go on my own, not to say that I'm on my own, but to say that I've got enough to work with here, to work with these ideas, and to see what's going on wrong. And I don't have control over it. I'll never have control of the world. I'm not going to go out and be the head of the government. The government's not going to change because of this, and none of this is ever going to It's not all gonna. None of it's ever gonna change. I'm just stating that I am concerned. And even whenever I feel like I might be going to hell, it isn't the only reason why I'm doing this. Even though there's a part of me that says, yeah, you are. I come to the realization I still am concerned about people that are on the streets. There are things I still feel about, even though I feel like life is hopeless. I still feel about such things. It's kind of like, at the very least, this is fun, Hey, how's it going? Hey. So, at the very least, this is fun. You gotta do stuff, So, I'm gonna go and, I don't know what I'm gonna do. Why is that guy following me around? What it will probably be is I'll look at his name and it'll be something or remind me of some pattern I see that Satan always throws up in front of me. It'll be like 111 or 1134 or 616 or 666 or I'm giving you these numbers. You'll probably start seeing them. I'm sorry that I didn't mention them, but this is what he throws at me all the time. So, and it basically is all he's saying to me is that you're not going to get anything in with anybody because you're already forgotten. You're not here. You're not here on earth. He gives me 404 all the time, which is a web. It's I'm going to put this will be easier to me put this in here because then I'm not like having to move around. But the thing is that let me make sure I'm still recording. As if it's just going to go and somebody's going to watch it, but I always like to have things recorded. Just even though I said we are a spectacle to the angels because that's what it says in the Bible. Basically, we're the drama daytime TV show that all the angels like to watch, and it's just kind of like what's on the tube. Let's turn it on. Oh, look, it's Kiernan, and he's talking about, oh, yeah, I really like this show. Let's leave it on. Let's sit here and have a beer and eat some fries and, fish and chips or whatever, Now, not to say they drink beer. They don't drink anything, but they're probably sitting there and just kind of like twiddling their thumbs or, doing some sort of extracurricular activity, or I don't know what they do. They're sitting there, they're watching, and they're just kind of like, he's saying some pretty good stuff here. Don't know if it really knows what is being said here. I was in the Worm game. That one guy has to come out and kill me, because he knows exactly where I'm at. But I'm still talking, and I don't even know who was it that killed me. I don't even know. So, I didn't even bother to see it. But it's gonna be one of Satan's henchmen, one of his demons that are intent on getting their say. And the thing about the demons that I've come to realization is that they're very shallow. It's like they don't even have a past. They're basically created to mock you. That's all they can do. They don't have the capacity not to mock you. They're pleasantly surprised whenever you don't do what they expect you to do. But they know that Satan's going to be jumping on them on their case if they don't continue to comply. And so they're very intent on shutting you up in every aspect. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to masturbate and get the dopamine release and sit there and be indifferent. And no matter whatever you say, I'm just going to be like, yeah, so I'm still alive. And they're like, yeah, well, your life's not going to last that long. You're a fly. So you're a fly too. You're the Beelzebub. And where does that come from? It's a Hebrew onomatopoeia for the sound the fly makes when it's in your ear. Beelzebub. So you're basically a fly, You're an annoying pest. That's the way God sees you. See, I could tell that to Satan, and he doesn't want to hear that, because there was a time whenever he was respected, and he's not respected anymore. And so the thing is that he wants me to worship him, and I'm like, dude, to worship you is like, it's like the worst thing in the universe, you know? Why would I worship you? You know? Because he will respect you if you don't worship him. If you worship him, then he's it's like a psychopath that you've handed over your life's work to him, and then he just turns around and disowns you the next day, you know, or fires you. And see, my job here on Earth hasn't been done. Even if this isn't Earth, I'm in a sandbox, but I'm basically going to be whatever it is that I am, and what I do, whacking off and all that stuff. I'm seeing that there is a reason for me to say that I do such, and that is to avoid the problem that you got with psychopaths, and that is that they're not self-deprecating. You need to self-deprecate. You need to say that I'm not a great person. I am not a great person, but I'm not any different than many of the other people that are around the earth doing similar things. They've got their own problem. We all got our own problems, and those problems, and I wouldn't say to somebody to go around and kill people. The reason why I'm able to still keep doing what I'm doing is that I'm thinking in my mind, am I killing people doing this? Am I really hurting people doing this? And it could be as such if I say things here that are hurting people, but I don't know if I'm hurting people, and I don't believe I'm hurting people. I think the only thing I'm hurting in the world is the egos of people who just don't want to know truth, or don't want to ponder truth, or not to want to even search for truth. Those are the people that are wanting me to shut up. Those are people that are possibly hurting. Is that I'm hurting their ego, I'm hurting their worldview, I'm hurting their perception of the world, I'm ruining their perceptions, and that's their every reason to get rid of me or to make me shut up. Anytime somebody says shut up, ask them why you need to shut up, and then they say, well, if they don't have an answer to that, you just met a demon. Don't say that they're a demon outright, but that's what demons do. They will tell you, they'll mock you, they will tell you don't know where you're going with that and all that, but they don't give you any rebuke. They don't tell you why. They don't give you any reasons. They don't give you any support. They just rebuke. They just mock you, just outright mock you, and it's just all they do. That's all demons do, and that's how you know you're dealing with a demon. And they're out there. I mean, just as the truth is out there with the X-Files, the demons are out there, and their job in life, they would rather be probably off watching American Idol and eating, a pizza and drinking a Coke or something, but they got to be over here messing with you because it's their job. They have to do the negative reinforcement. They got to be there for negative reinforcement or negative enforcement. The thing is they're trying to test you to see if you're willing to step up to the plate and say it, okay? And if you aren't, then you're going to be easy to manipulate, and it's going to be easy to get you out of the way. And I mean, you need more time in order to determine what it is that you feel is right, okay? And there are times whenever I come up with stuff and it's completely wrong, and then I find out that I'm completely wrong there. But I think God's willing to work with you if you think that you could offer some good. If you're afraid that you might be in hell, that also might be a good thing, because it says to God that you're concerned about your mortality. There are people in the world that don't think there is a heaven or a hell, and it makes it easier for them to think that way. And I think that to some level they think there is a heaven and hell, they just don't want to know. And because they don't want to face the idea that they might have done some really bad stuff. And I'm in the same boat, and I understand that, and I feel that. I've got every reason to say that I'm going to hell. Okay. I just am not going to accept it until I'm dead. Okay. There's a Weird Al Yankovic that says, I'll be mellow when I'm dead. I'll be mellow when I'm dead. I'll be mellow when I'm dead. And talking about all these people that talking, well, you just mellow out, you know. And his reasoning to that is that I'll be mellow when I'm dead, because that's when I don't have any say, you know. And so if you have any say, if you have something to say, say it. But don't let the demons pull you down, because they're only going to mock you. They're not going to rebuke you. The only time that mockery is good is when there's a rebuke that follows it. When they have, if they give you support, negative support, they give you a reason why you should probably not talk about something. If they give you some pieces of advice, then it's worthwhile. But if it's just outright mocking you, that's called trolling. And a trolling, the operative word of trolling is to control others through simple manipulation of speech. Find out some way, something. It's kind of like rock climbing. Just trying to find that rock that you can support yourself on and hold on to. And there are some rocks that just come right off. And the trolls are trying to find the rocks that come off. They're trying to keep you from being able to hold on to that rock surface, you know. And so they're giving you these rocks that have no foundation, and if you grasp for them, you might fall. You see. So the thing is, you know how to test that stuff, and they'll throw it out, and then you'll reach your hand up there, not really putting your weight on it, but just kind of reaching up there, kind of leaning to one side so that you are able to support yourself, and then sit there and test the rock to see if it's going to hold. And if it's not, it will fall off, and that's how you know. Rather than to say, oh my goodness, I picked off something that I haven't really thought this thing out, and then, oh, I must be wrong. Oh, I'm sorry, and then you wilt away. If I have that problem, if Satan does it, if it's not a demon that you're working with, it's Satan's going to cut right to the heart. He's really good at getting you, and he will let you go with something, and then he'll say, oh yeah, well you always do this, and that could even be very shallow. Like he said through somebody that was in this game, and I think I've repeated this on a previous video, but I was in a game, and I was talking about how great I am. His favorite thing to do is that whenever I bring up my ego, whenever I'm into my ego, he comes in and he slaps me behind the knees with a mallet, with a club, and, to show that I'm not really standing properly. He'll come in and he'll say, yeah, you're failing you're going to fail here because you're letting your ego come in, and you're not self-deprecating at this point, and they're going to call you on it, And so what he does is he comes in and he slaps you in the back of the knees so that you'll fall. And what he did with me that day was he said, oh, the guy who can see, like that guy on the beach who could rap for 5 hours, you're going to have to be like him. And what it was is it was Satan talking through somebody else. It possibly was a demon who was possessing somebody's body. A demon's possession does exist. It's basically somebody who's weak, who's probably seen somebody or has been brought somewhere. I'm weak, and Satan will do some demon possession on me a lot. It's because I'm fairly weak in certain ways, but I've come to the realization that's what's going on. It's demon possession. It's like he's got a demon inside of me. There's a reason why God is kind of hands off. It's just that He knows that I've got some control in that I know some things, and I know enough to be autonomous. He doesn't really need to control me. Every now and then he'll pop something in my head. I don't know how it gets there, but my belief. That's my belief is what's going on, and that I've fapped off for much of my life and haven't been able to get rid of it. But it's probably a good reason for me to have it, is to do this particular kind of service, which is to kind of just tell everybody. I mean, when I was born, I didn't start talking until I was 5. So why was I taught to talk? Okay, and then why was it that my parents had a divorce, and then I end up living in Texas, and then HIV breaks out, and then I'm just like afraid to have sex with people, and then my friends, I lose. I don't have very good relationships with women. I can't talk to people because of my aphasia, and all this stuff gets in the way. All that stuff, I've come to realization, was there because of to make the being that I am now was a result of me going through all of that. I had to go through all of that to be where I am now. And Satan is just saying to me, this is your doing, you're the reason. No, I'm saying it's possible that I was created to fit this particular function, and when I see the numbers 1111, it's actually saying to me, dude, in the start state. And I took digital electronics, and when you turn on a PC, the power turns on, and the first thing that the CPU, the power does, is it throws in an address into the processor. It's all ones, and that address is where to look for your vector that points to the bootstrap. And that's how you start up an old IBM PC with MS-DOS. And it puts all ones in there. And I'm giving all ones, and to me that's saying you've got what you need. This is going to pop in the bootstrap and go to, you've got it. It's like you're the virus to this whole thing. And we're going to stick you in a special sandbox where everything's wrong in this world, and you're going to unravel it, and you have everything you need to unravel it, and just keep going. You're doing okay, and don't get put off by the Satan guy. Don't get put off by this thing that you keep doing. There's nothing wrong with you. You've got everything you need. You're at the right place. You're doing it right. Just keep doing it, okay? And they're looking for me to say things like this on the audio to help them understand that I get it, okay? If it isn't the case, then, I mean, in my mind, it's like, okay, why would you torture people for eternity if they might have the right ideas in their head, if they might be able to figure things out, and it might sound plausible? Why would you hold them accountable for trying to solve the problem, trying to fix the problem? It is, I mean, you give people the capacity to feel hurt, say it's probably going to destroy this vehicle, but it doesn't bother me. It's probably one of the demons. But it's a great thing about these audio feeds. The demons will come up and get in on me and say, you realize you're in a sandbox. I do realize I'm probably in a sandbox, but I still got to kind of pretend like this is real, And for me, it's still fun. It still makes me feel like I'm real if I'm talking, if I'm able to reason. I'm talking to myself. Though nobody else will talk to me, I'm talking to myself. And for me, that is all the feedback that I need, is to hear myself say the things. So that's what drives me to talk. That's the reason why it's hard for them to make me shut up, is that I actually enjoy hearing my voice. When I am unable to hear my voice, maybe until I'm unable to think the thoughts in my head, until I'm just completely unable to even operate, then that's when I finally am unable to express. But then if that ever happens, then I'm probably not ever going to be able to comprehend. If I was tortured for it, it would be like creating a being and then not have any justification for torturing. It's like creating something that doesn't have the capacity to realize why they're being tortured. Okay, and so if I keep finding a way around things, they don't like that. They don't want me finding a way around. I keep flaking the issue. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to figure out why it's necessary to torture somebody for eternity for not thinking of a way of solving problems, because that's what your brain is for solving problems. And so I've come to the realization that if I continue on the process of taking advantage, you see, the problem here, what's going to lead me into hell, is to believe that technology is the answer to everything. And I've come to the realization that technology is only good whenever you're using it. When it's using you, it's not good. And so I don't use cell phones. I don't watch cable TV. I play this video game, but it's only because I have the ability to control the game. That makes it easier for me to play the game. It's relaxation. Technology is only good for relaxation. It's only good if it makes your life a little easier. It's not good if it makes everybody's lives horrible. And that's what technology, in fact, has done for us, is it's made everybody's lives miserable. Because when Bill Gates sold the first MS-DOS or whatever, or whoever that capitalist was that was there that said your life will be so much better if you use this computer, he did that to the first business, and he said it'll give you a leg up on your competition. Guess what? A year down the road, everybody's got it, and people have less boundaries. They start working against they start pushing for greed and less. It empowered people's ability to make money for themselves, and as a result of that, it became an addiction. Technology became an addiction, and that's the problem with technology. And see, you hear that? Who is that that's doing that? There's this guy out here, and he's flipping his things. That's a demon. That's who's putting that stuff out there. He's like, stop talking. Satan brought me over here to tell you to stop talking. You keep doing this, I'm going to get my ass kicked. And I said, dude, you were created to do that. Keep it up, okay? You're there to mock me, okay? That's your whole purpose in your existence. That you were created to mock me, and do it, because that's what you were designed to do. I'm doing what I believe I was designed to do, and that was to express what I think I see going on around me, okay? So it's not like I'm going to have control over this universe. It's that I'm expressing that I feel like it's okay for me to be here, okay? I don't know if I'm in hell or heaven, but I believe that in any case, you're going to be the tool that you are, whatever it is. You were created to be that at that point. Maybe you're the wrong tool, maybe you're the right tool, but I still feel and believe that there are good solutions to problems. There's just certain things that I don't have the capacity to really fix. There are other people that probably say otherwise, but I think the Pharisees weren't able to fix some problems, and there are Christians that aren't able to fix everything, and I can see good in some things. In VR porn, I see that there's a good there that there doesn't exist in 2D porn, and that is that you replace the vision of the woman, your dick, with the woman, and it's reinforcing a relationship with women, and that's good. It's bad if you're sitting there looking at your penis and you're doing it, and it's reinforcing a relationship with you, not her. That's selfishness. So I'm starting to think more, I really want more of this being with these women. It may lead me to actually being with women. But the reason why I wasn't with women in the first place is because in the 80s HIV had hit, and I was afraid of getting a disease. I was afraid that as I was to have sex with anybody, that I would get a disease and die. Now I'm not really so much afraid of dying. I would almost take on a disease to be with a woman. I don't know if I need that. I don't know if I need to be with a woman. That's the other thing, is that I don't think marriage is going to save people. The reason why the Bible says to marry is because then you would be lusting after every woman. Well, the thing here is that I'm lusting after every woman, but it's not causing me to lose sight of God, which is kind of the fear that God has whenever he looks at Solomon. You know, Solomon had 1,000 concubines. People water it down and say, well, you only had really one wife. Those 999 others were people who were looking after. And I'm like, no, he had 1,000 wives, okay? He had 1,000 women that he was around all the time. I mean, imagine having 1,000 women. And, you know, it's kind of like today it's Holly, tomorrow it's going to be Mary Beth, you know. That was Solomon. And his father had 5 concubines. I mean, David only had 5 wives, okay? I mean, well, 5 wives. Solomon probably had several wives, and then he had the concubines. The concubines were just sex slaves, basically. And sex partners. And if you look in the animal kingdom, this happens a lot. You'll have an alpha male, and he'll have sex with all the female animals. And then the ones that are not the alpha males might not even get sex at all, you know. And that's kind of the survival of the fittest mentality, is that the alpha male sperm gets passed on through the generations. This is what supports a lot of that evolutionary belief. But also survival of the fittest would also mean, why would we even have a Saturday or a Sunday? Where did that come from? It came from Judeo-Christian morality. That we know for certain the Sunday came from the Sabbath. But how about the Shmeth? Shmeth was a whole year you were supposed to be off every 7th year, and that was an act of faith. To say that you believe in God so much that he'd give you everything you need for a whole year, and that you're not to work. That was for people it was for people to have the capacity to put faith in God. It was a faith walk, you know. It's like that was how they knew that God was in their lives, you know. That they were living by this law, and then on the seventh year, that any of the slaves they had to let go free. And slaves in that time were people that were indebted to other people. It wasn't people that were made unjustifiably slaves. In America, we made the blacks that we brought from Africa or Caribbean or wherever, we made them unjustifiably slaves. They were not indebted to us. They were there against their will. They were not consenting to it. You know, that's evil, okay? And our country was based on evil. So if America was ever great, that's a lie. America never was great. We pushed Indians off their land. The Indians didn't believe anybody could own land. So when pilgrims came over here, they were falling on hard times. They didn't have food. They're running out of their rations. The Indians came to save them. That's what our Thanksgiving is based on, is that idea that the Indians came in and saved the settlers. You see, so when you see the pilgrims bringing food to the table and the Indians bringing food to the table, that's bullshit. The pilgrims had nothing. They had no rations. They were starving to death. The Indians came in and saved their ass. Okay, it's that our way that we paint pictures of ourselves is always very pristine. Whenever you look at the nativity scene of Jesus and everything, it's all very pristine shepherds and stuff like that. Realize that the shepherds were the most disgusting humans in that society. These were people that were tag team taking care of sheep that had limited eyesight. They were like 3-4 feet. They could only see the asses of the sheep in front of them. That's the reason why it says, a wolf in sheep's clothing, is that sheep would not be able to tell the difference between another sheep and a sheep that is disguised, a wolf disguised as sheep, because they can't tell the difference. They don't have proper eyesight to do it. Why would God do that? Probably just for that purpose, Why would evolution create an animal such as sheep that have poor eyesight? It makes no evolutionary sense. Maybe it was provided to give us that conundrum that maybe it was an evolution that produced sheep, okay? But the first thing we clone is sheep, And you talk about the scapegoat. You know what the scapegoat is? It comes from Judeo-Christian upbringing. It was that whenever you would take a lamb, you would cut its throat, and your sins would be paid for by the blood of that lamb. Then you were to let a goat to go into the wild, and that was the scapegoat. The scapegoat, the goat that goes in the wild. So an example of this is Jesus was hung on the cross, and Pilate said, "Who then should we let go?" And they said Barabbas. Barabbas was the scapegoat. So he goes off, and then Jesus is the blood, is the sheep that has his life taken, and the blood pays for everybody's sins. I just revealed a parallel there that probably nobody's ever revealed before. I just came to that just now. That's stuff that happens to me. And I'm imagining that if this is not Earth, that if I'm in a sandbox, and I'm coming up with these realizations on the fly, and I'm just like, this is it? I never, it gives me good reason to continue on believing that I'm on the right path, that I'm okay. Even though I do all this other stuff, I'm still okay. Is that I'm not holding back. I'm unrelenting in trying to do the right thing. It's not that I'm perfect. It would be better to be imperfect than to be perfect, because when you're perfect, then your ego is going to be feeding you. And so now I know that it isn't me, it's him, and he's using me, but he's doing it in a very different way than I would expect it to have been done. And with Jesus, he had to lead Jesus through all that stuff. He had to. I mean, that was the only way that was ever going to get done. But with us, we're doing it kind of without him having direct control. And I think to him that's actually more justification if we can get through it and start making all the realizations and seeing the patterns, and the simple mockery that gets thrown at us by the demons doesn't stick. When it doesn't stick to the wall and just slides off, then Satan knows that it's really just, he's not going to want to have you in hell, because you're just going to be sitting there giving all of the people that see him as great, they're going to see it didn't stick. It didn't stick to his wall. Why did that stick? Well, I don't know what's happening here. I really don't. I don't know if this is earth or if this is hell. But I'm still alive, and there's a reason why they keep working against me, and then I keep coming up with reasons why to exist, to be here. And I'm coming up with realizations that maybe God is still working with me. It's just in a very different way than what I thought would work, the way it would work. Maybe Satan's building me up to slap me down again. But it's kind of like if you've had it happen before, then what's it going to hurt to have it happen again? And so it's kind of like a glutton for punishment. But I'm just like, this is working for me. This is fine. And there'll be times when I'll get down about it, and then I'll get up again, and then I'll get down, and then I'll get up again. See? So, but the thing is it's kind of like, I'm thinking, all my life I've been doing this traditional stuff, and I never thought once about, like, what it said in the Bible, and then, like, it's kind of like you have things lifted from your eyes, like you had scales lifted from your eyes, that you start to see things in the world that you never really thought about before, just like what I just said about Barabbas and all that, but it's because I didn't know at some point about the scapegoat, at some point I didn't know about other things, and it took time for me to get to that stuff. I mean, it's not going to be instantaneous. Nobody's going to be instantaneously the best Christian. I don't even know if I want to say I'm a Christian, because for me that's of a high value to me. If I was to ever say I was that, then that for me would say that I was perfect, and I know I'm not perfect, and so for me, I'm really just giving more of an emphasis to how great being a Christian would be if I could be a Christian, you see. And however the Bible says, keep your mind on things higher up. I've got depression. It's very difficult for me to do that. And I go all over the place. But I come to the realization that it could be the case that I'm the only one here, and that this is all a sandbox. But don't feel like if this is not the case, at least I have some reason for my craziness, And so what I'm saying is it's kind of my fallback is that I really don't know what's going on, and that's the truth. And I'm trying to make sense of it, and I'm trying to figure out why nobody's listening, or I'm not getting feedback, but it may be that I'm somebody that can put up with it. And if I can, and when it's going to be a danger to me is when I have no capacity to make choices. But even in such a case where you don't have the capacity to make choices, then you could do that to any creature. That if they had the ability to reason that they actually tried everything, then it's going to be less effective to them, the torture, than if you torture a being that brought themselves into the trap, and it was a trap of their making, I guess. I don't feel like this is a trap of my making. I feel like this is not. I think this is unnatural. I do think that the reason why I'm here is in this environment that I'm in is to point out that you can't trust technology. And I'm falling back on the idea that the only time technology is good is whenever it benefits you in a way that causes you to relax. If you can't relax after using technology, if technology is forever making you dependent on it, then it's not good. It is not good technology. It's technology that you should shun. And so, in the case of porn, I think porn is okay if the women are consenting. They don't see me looking at them, and I don't treat women like that in everyday life. If I am trying to encourage women to do better, and I'm trying to inspire them, I'm trying to give them esteem, that I'm not treating them like the other guys who look at the porn do, then it's probably okay that I'm doing it. If women have been devalued as a result of that, I would say it's systemic of the culture that has made it that way. We've been led to boil as frogs in this broth for quite a long time, and to say that we can make it any better by cutting it here and here is probably not going to fix the problem. The way you have to fix the problem is to come up with a solution that's plausible by the women that are going to have to make a lifestyle have to make money because they don't have the capacity to actually get educated and do it the right way. You have to find something out for them and the men who just don't have the capacity to approach women and have such of a, to have children or relationships, because we've been through divorces and we know that marriage, though we would want it to work, probably won't work. But I think the major thing with pornography is you don't want it to lead to the abuse of children. You don't want to be abusing children. You don't want to ruin families over this stuff. And to me, it's not a problem with me. It probably ruined my family if I ever had a family, if I ever could have a family. But I don't think I could ever have a family. Maybe that's something that would get revealed to me later, but I don't think that it is the case that I could have or would have even wanted to have a family. I believe that there are enough children in the world, and that was part of the reason why I was justified on this, is that I didn't see much reason in the population growing exponentially all the time, because eventually we're pretty much going to have too many people on the earth. So I was just kind of like, I'm not hurting anybody by doing this. The women that I'm looking at are consenting to doing this stuff. They're showing me their bodies. I'm observing God's most creative and best work in creating beautiful women, and I'm just observing them, and at the same time I'm getting off. I get a dopamine release. I'm able to chat about things and have deep conversations without being made susceptible by trolls that are going to try to take advantage of me, and I'm not giving into it. So maybe I am the being that I was meant to be, that this isn't a problem, you know, because I think the problems that are on in the world, the biggest problem is when you think you can pinpoint that someone is the problem. And I have this problem too. I mean, I have a hard time with Bill Gates, but I think it could be fixed if I had maybe an hour or two to talk to him. I might start to realize he was like me, because the ability to identify with others is of a human civil nature ability. If we have racism, we can't maintain civility. So we need to get rid of racism. We need to take off, according to Howard Jones, our mental chains. We see don't crack up. And so in America, crack up means to laugh. So don't crack up. I think actually it means something else. But it says don't crack up. See both sides. So I guess the idea is that don't freak out and get upset at somebody. So don't crack up. See both sides. See how he's like you, and it's bend your brain to see how it is from his position, and think about it, and then throw off your mental chains, the chains that keep you from making wise decisions about your relationship because otherwise, if you don't do that, you'll probably take out a gun and shoot the guy. See, which is what happened with the schizophrenic that shot John Lennon. He didn't see eye to eye with John Lennon, and it was because the voices in his head were telling him, John Lennon's a part of the problem. This guy shouldn't be saying the things he's saying. You need to end his life, because too much more of this guy is going to ruin the world or something. I can't imagine what was going through that guy's head. Because John Lennon, I wouldn't kill John Lennon. I love John Lennon. I love the music he produced. I love his wife. I love the fact that Elton John brought Yoko and John back together again. I think he's a great philosopher. I don't know. I don't think he was Christian. It doesn't matter to me. I think in the Bible it says it's better to say that you, and I say this a lot. There's a little passage that says it's a bit better, and I don't know exactly, but something like this. It says it's better to say that you're not and later do than to say that you are and later do not. So the thing is that if you're a Christian and you later not to become a Christian, that's worse to say that you're not a Christian and then later become a Christian. See? So the people of the world that say they're not Christians, that don't accept Christianity, you don't write them off. That's what it means to say. That's what I believe it means to say that you don't, that you say to people. Now I'm starting to hear these. You see that's Satan's guy. He's sitting over there, and he's going, "You can't say this stuff. It's not good to say this." And that's the reason why he's doing that. So, they don't like me to say stuff like this, because what I'm pointing out, he's trying to distract me is why he's trying to do it, which is Satan's best tool is distraction. So he's trying to distract me from the idea so that I don't continue down the path. And he's effective because I just forgot. But that's what they do. And the angels will know that I was on the right path. It's just I lost it, and they could see where I was going with it, so I don't really need to go there. The demons are like, you've said enough. You're already on the trail. People are going to figure that stuff out just from, you need to some degree, need to let people think, because if they don't think, then their brains they're getting experience. They're getting wisdom. They're not getting experience. Experience is nice because with experience, you're reinforcing, and maybe that was probably the reason why these demons were doing that stuff, is they were trying to say, you've only got 2 minutes left on the clock here. Sum it up, because we need to get on with this, and the next landscape is going to be Indar. You're going to want to play Indar. You don't like Esamir, and nobody likes us. I mean, Esamir's fine, but and so yeah, okay, so so the thing is that I think that if you feel like you're in the right place, I mean, if you're in the wrong place, there's something in the Bible that says the mustard seed of faith. With a mustard seed can grow this really large tree, and the mustard seed of faith will move mountains. The mustard seed of faith may actually be, and I'll give it to you, but you need to think about this more, is the faith to get up and walk, because a walk is a controlled fall, and it's a small little thing of faith. You have to do it whenever you start out as a baby. You have to learn how to walk. It's a controlled fall. You're falling all the time. You're just catching yourself, and you just have to do that all the time. And how you move mountains? By moving past them. You're changing in, the relationship between you and the mountain is that they're moving past you or you're moving past them. It doesn't really matter in OpenGL and computer graphics which is moving, you or the land, but it doesn't really matter because it's matrix multiplication. So that's the end of this discussion, and that's how I'm going to sum it up. So not a very good evangelism session or whatever. Another thing I believe is that true evangelists don't accept money for evangelism. They do something else, or they're getting money from some other place. And so the money that I get, I spend the time pondering things like that. I'll play games, I'll fap. I don't have the capacity to support a family on my stuff. The stipulation of this trust that I'm on, I can't get married. So that it instantly turns the women off. If I tell them I can't get married, then they're like, oh, well, I can't, you're never going to use your money on me. And I said, I can't even use the money on, my mom won't even let me use the money on me. So she's like, if you just keep using it, you're not going to have any. And you're going to be in debt. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. And I can't have a family. I can't get married. The closest I can come is VR porn. And she's like, well, that's awful. And I said, yeah, but what choice is there? Can I do without it? No, I don't think I can do without it. I think the reason why I am the person that I am is because of that, and that somehow I'm going to be able to do outreach to those porn stars that feel like there's no hope for them either. But if they start watching my stuff, then maybe they'll start to think there is hope here. Maybe I'm just not able to do with it right now. Maybe it'll take a long time. And I think everybody needs to think that way. It's not You're not going to become perfect overnight. It's going to take a long time. And you're going to have to go through a lot of hoops of fire, and you got a lot of demons, and some people are going to do it easier, and some people are going to do it harder. It's not going to be the same for everybody. So, cut off that one.